After returning to the US for the holidays after traveling most of the past 6 months, I can earnestly say that outside of drinkable tap water, the QOL in this shithole far lags behind what most third world countries can offer at 15th the cost of living. Literally everything seems more expensive. Shacks in my area are going for $300K. Everyone is angry, stressed, and seemingly unhealthy to the point it is genuinely rare I see a skinny person outside the gym. Our food tastes like shit. I walk less, and feel considerably less safe driving in Chicago than walking drunk at midnight in Asia. The dating apps that got me literally hundreds of matches of friendly, attractive people willing to have a conversation is replaced with people acting like they're doing you a favor despite offering significantly less in pretty much every desirable quality. It seems like there has been significant weight gain in the average American as well, which is surprising cause food is close to my rent bill over Wish. My private insurance does essentially nothing outside of major, life-altering issues. It is rare I see anyone look happy. Almost everyone seems stressed and heavily medicated. Just booked my flight for Feb to Europe. If you are thinking of leaving the US, take this as your sign to run. It's incredibly depressing to be back. I actually returned to the US and moved to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis St. Paul, in Minnesota, and I've been so happy. There's some walkable areas, though not like Europe of course, which I wish the US had and I will forever miss. The people are so friendly. The nature here is amazing. The parks and trails system is incredible. More parks and trails than any other city in the US. It's progressive, so much farm fresh food, amazing schools, lots of diversity, reasonable coal, etc.
Hey, what's up, Internet? It's your boy, Digital Danny, coming at you live from... Oh, where am I today? Oh, that's right, this tiny little beach in Bali you've probably never heard of. Just another day in paradise for me. But you're not here to hear about how I spent my morning surfing perfect waves, sipping coffee grown in the mountains of Colombia, or jumping off waterfalls in Thailand. No. You're here for something way more important. You want to know how to live like me, right? How to work from anywhere, on any beach, with any drink in your hand, and make your friends back home jealous every time you post an Insta story. Well, folks, it starts with one simple move. A move so powerful, so life-changing, it'll blow your mind. Hit that like button. Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe, because when you subscribe to Digital Danny, you're not just subscribing to a channel, you're subscribing to a lifestyle. The nomad life, the good life, the I make money while I'm scuba diving in the Maldives life. Let's be real, you know you want it. So go ahead and smash that like button like I smashed the best fish tacos in Mexico City last week. And hit that subscribe button harder than the Wi-Fi signal I hijacked at this beach bar. Join the Digital Danny tribe. And maybe, just maybe, I'll teach you all how to do it all while barely lifting a finger. Cheers.
Exactly. You can't compare your QOL in USA to what you have in another country on your USA salary. Op should compare their QOL in USA to the average in those other countries and they'll see that many people struggle. They specially mention Asia. In most countries the average income is very low and there is a lot of poverty. The average QOL is not higher, but your USA income means you can live like a king, which was my big problem with a whole generation of eat, pray, love, mouth breathers who glommed onto the spirituality of other parts of the world while simultaneously boxing them into consumables. It's gotten worse too, fetishizing the world while making TikToks of what not forget to pack into a suitcase that would buy food for a year on someone's local wages. By all means travel, definitely marvel at how polite an entire nation can be towards a stranger. Or how friendly, welcoming, and trusting others can be. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being someplace else and feeling like if my country had this, we'd be better off. The quality control of food and wine in France is impressive and it's almost entirely cultural. Bad wine goes unsold so nobody bothers to make it. The rails and short flights all over Asia and Europe have made their cities more accessible and walkable. Healthcare that isn't for profit is a no-brainer that the US needs to adopt at some point. But you also excuse things you otherwise wouldn't. The best Thai food I had in Bangkok had bathroom that was abhorrent and you had to walk through the kitchen to get to it. It had standing water puddles and smelled like a sewage treatment plant. Some street food is fried in oil that's collected from gutters. Waterways are usually disgusting. Child labor isn't uncommon. Slave labor is part of some countries' economy. In general, there is a lack of reverence for nature that the US actually does better than most. Thank you again, Teddy Roosevelt. There is almost no social mobility in many places. If you are born lower class, you will die lower class, and so will your kids. Spending 2 weeks in a hut on the beach while people bring you fresh fruits and chilled bottles of wine and water isn't reconnecting with nature, it's living like royalty. You feel great because for the majority of human history, almost nobody got to experience that. There's problems everywhere, and there's beauty everywhere. Once you travel a lot and the more immersed you become, you actually start to see how few differences there are rather than noticing how different everything is. If I had my current salary and current house in another country, I'd be able to afford several full-time live-in maids. That's awesome for me, but how about them? They'd never make enough to stop being a maid. They'd be doing someone else's laundry, cooking them meals, cleaning their house and going home to a hovel. That's why Parasite was such a great film. It kinda of asks, who's the actual drain on society? Yep, I remember in the Balkans, in places like Albania and Macedonia, it was so beautiful and fun and affordable, but speak to locals. Remember several people telling me they'd do anything to leave and have a job in another country, and one tour guide was just saying, you have no idea what it is like to be born in a poor ex-communist country. Her daughter had managed to get into a PhD abroad and she was so proud she would be able to make something of her life. Yeah, as someone who taught English in Asia for years, you were just relatively rich and of means in those countries. If you were as poor as the guy serving you noodles from a push cart, you'd have a lot less positive shit to say. Not only that, but there is a blissful ignorance in a lot of third world countries. I can only speak on Southeast Asia, but do you really believe people are healthier in places like Thailand and Vietnam? Where pollution in big cities is so bad, if you drive to work on your scooter without a mask you'll have sinus flare-ups and inflections. Not to mention how waste is dealt with, either burning it or dumping it into the ocean. I could go on and on. Traffic, sewage and flooding, no support for mental health, women are second-class citizens in comparison to their husbands and make family, etc., etc. Yeah, people are more angry and upset in Western wealthy countries, but that's because the public is made far more aware of shortcomings and negative statistics. If people saw the numbers of all the negative shit that people deal with in places like Ho Chi Minh City or Bangkok, I'd be willing to bet they'd be a lot less happy. These people are actively shut down by the government though, so yet another thing they lack, a freedom of speech. If you had a great salary here in the West you wouldn't feel this way. Go back to Asia and live on less than $200 a month and report back to us bud, cause I'd be willing to bet you'd be finding the first plane ticket back to the West as fast as possible. I've heard of men from the US going to Asian countries to find a good woman because women here are just looking for the thing is, that's the same reason you're getting attention from women in those places. They are the rich guy even if you're poor here. I would add that, aside from money, there are social and cultural pressures as well. I have had a few world travelers from the West tell me, oh, why did you immigrate to the West? In the West, we only care about money and society. I went to India and it is so deeply spiritual. Also, I was free to be whoever I want to be, and the locals were so friendly and non-judgmental. A lot of Westerners feel free in India, Bali, Thailand, Japan, etc. because they are gliding along the society as foreigners, without really dipping their feet into the water. Nobody is judging you in India because you are a foreigner with no family or roots, you are just a guest. So nobody cares. But if you were an Indian, born into an Indian family, you would have to deal with people judging you on what grades you get in school, whom you love or marry, how many kids you have, whether you are homeowner or renter, how many cars you have, what jewelry you wear in parties, what language you speak, what food you eat, how you look like, etc., etc. A lot of tourists and short-term stayers, or expats, think their personal experience is the experience of an average local. Sure, you can share a meal with a local, drink coffee in the same cafe, know a few words in the local language, etc., but that superficial proximity doesn't mean you experience life the same way a local experiences life, being born into the social fabric of that country. Totally agree. Realistically, it's a major luxury to be able to even be a digital nomad or world traveler. Of course, it's better for us to head to any random developing country in the global south. We have insane wealth and income compared to the average person in those countries. Being born there is a completely different story, unless you are born into the wealthy or upper middle classes in somewhere like Thailand, India or Indonesia, all places that as travelers and DNs think are super cheaper and desirable. You cannot even imagine how different your life would be. Even being able to travel outside the country once would be a dream for many people. Sure, America is fucked up and has its problems, but a lot of what you said is perspective. You can be miserable in Asia and you can be happy in the USA. It also seems like you have traveled to all the nicest places and comparing it to all the crappy places. There's plenty of shithole areas in Europe and Asia and lots of nice places in the US. I also find that generally people save a life more in Europe and other areas, but stay long enough and you might realize how annoying that can get when you need your car fixed or a contractor to repair something in your home, or generally meet people with ambition. If you believe there's literally nothing redeeming about the US and nothing negative about the rest of the world, you're probably fixating on things.
Hey guys, it's Digital Danny here. If you're dreaming about breaking free from the 9-to-5 grind and exploring the world while working from your laptop, then you have to check out this amazing book, Digital Nomad, The Complete Guide to Becoming a Digital Nomad in the 21st Century by Harry Holland. This book has everything you need to kickstart your digital nomad journey, from tips on finding remote work to budgeting and living cost effectively in the coolest place like Barbados, Rome, and Phuket. It's not just a guide, it's a blueprint to freedom. And guess what? You can grab this book and millions of others for free with Kindle Unlimited. That's right, with Kindle Unlimited, you can get access to this guide and so many other life-changing reads without spending a dime. So if you're ready to design your own adventure and live life on your own terms, click the link below and get started with Kindle Unlimited today. This is your sign to start making the digital nomad lifestyle your reality. Don't wait. Start your journey now. Click the affiliate link in my description of this video.
Yeah, honestly, it's so ignorant. Let's get real. Would you trade an average salary living in the US for an average salary living in Albania, Thailand, or India? Life can be fucking brutal with very few options when you are by chance born into a lot of places in the world. Social mobility can be extremely challenging and you could have a passport that makes it very difficult to go anywhere else. I had a lovely conversation with a Grab driver, the motorbike kind, in HCMVN. He told me on a good day he'd make 5 to 10 driving Grab. You try living off 100 to 200 month rent, being happy about it, and then supporting a wife and kids including rent while working 9 to 12-hour days non-stop. You're so far removed from the reality of how the lower classes live in C. The wealth inequality in Asia is even more pronounced than in the US. Dude, you left beautiful tropical weather where you've been traveling and having new experiences to come back to the US in the middle winter. Of course you're going to feel this way. Yes, in Asia you are exotic and rich by local standards and the weather is nicer this time of year. That doesn't mean the whole country is going to crap winking face. You're young and newish to traveling? Really? The extreme poor in a third world country went into a full conversation with you in English in order for you to understand their struggles? Or did you saw them and because it's not the poverty you are used to you considered it better? As someone from a third world country, I am tired of the stereotype of poor but happy because they know something we don't. You are not taking in consideration the cultural and lifestyle differences. Yep, I was living the life in Vietnam and I'm very confident that significantly contributed to my fond memories of how great living there was. Similarly, once I started making a lot of money in the US, suddenly life here started seeming okay. I'm sure that once I hit the tier where I'm making crazy investments and buying houses etc., the US will stop seeming like such a shithole. I do think the US is unique in some of its worst flaws, general and increasing idiocy, gun violence, amongst other things, which is why I still plan to leave again as soon as my BF is willing lol, but there are a lot of good, happy people here too and a lot of beautiful places to see and things to experience. Poor non-white foreigners are happier than rich Americans because something spiritual, culture, is a tired Orientalist trope. Living in poverty sucks, a community can help but generally speaking poor people in C would still prefer not being poor. IDK. In the US, when I go back, I live in one of the wealthiest area codes. To be fair, it is much better, but it's still got this pervasive feeling of misery to me just lingering on the outskirts. Any other country, I see citizens that are genuinely happy and carefree. There's an undercurrent of stress and sadness in the US that I don't feel elsewhere. Any other country, I see citizens that are genuinely happy and carefree. I think this is your attitude skewing your perception. You only see depressed people in the US and don't see depressed people outside of here? I'm from Portugal and let me tell you, depression is rampant in a lot of places, including in Lisbon. And things are only getting worse. There's poverty and depression and misery everywhere. I think Op is rich as a digital nomad and afforded luxuries he can't access in the US. That's why he feels such shock. Yeah man, have some sympathy for Op. He's used to service industry workers telling him how great everything is and now he has to see fat women on a dating app. The US has a lot of problems but so does everywhere else. You're just able to buy your way out of seeing the problems in C and not in the US. While I am actually pretty happy with my quality of life in the US and am in no way trying to compare myself to someone living in a developing country, I will say that even my hometown LCOL American City is seeing the effects of remote workers moving here after realizing how far they can stretch their dollar. For example, lots of locals are struggling to buy houses because they keep getting outbid by out-of-staters who can make cash offers we'll never be able to match. Do I want people to be stuck raising a family in a studio apartment in San Francisco for the rest of their lives? Of course not, but it would also be nice for people to consider the impact they're making on their new communities by throwing their money around and bragging about how cheap everything is to the locals who work pretty hard to afford it. I can only imagine the impact this might have when nomads are in countries with an even larger income gap.
Hey guys, I know you love my videos, and I know you love me, but it's time for me to try to get paid so I can truly generate the passive income that will allow me to truly enjoy the next couple of weeks that I spend here on the beach in Bali. All right, fellow jet setters, meet your new best friend, the Lenovo 14-inch FHD touchscreen Chromebook. Lightweight, affordable, and perfect for running your business while you're bouncing between time zones faster than your mom checks your Instagram stories. Whether you're churning out SEO copy on the beaches of Bali, setting up your drop shipping empire from a hostel in Budapest, or cranking out freelance articles between flights, this Chromebook's got your back and won't weigh it down. With an 8-core MediaTek processor and just enough memory to keep those 47 open tabs from crashing, it's the perfect sidekick for every digital hustler. Need more? How about the fact that it's cheaper than your monthly Wi-Fi bill in Thailand? Plus, with its touchscreen magic, you can switch between business mode and Netflix mode with a tap. Because hey, even nomads need some downtime. So ditch the bulk, keep it light, and make your bank account as happy as your wanderlust. Grab the Lenovo Chromebook and keep your freedom intact. Hashtag work from anywhere.
I'm currently in Ho Chi Minh City and I agree with you on all points. And talking about homeless people? There are so many here it is depressing. New Year's Eve I drove around, masks on, to hand out some snacks to homeless people as a charity. Every time we stopped we were surrounded by people just asking for a little more. When we drive around and I see the trash clogging the rivers, it is so sad. The place could be beautiful with a lot of work. My friends earn about $400 a month. 4 of them live in a house as big as an average American kitchen. I try to help them as much as I can, but besides food, they are too embarrassed to ask for anything. It's not just that, race also plays a role. A lot of these guys having success on dating apps abroad are white, and many non-white people have preferences for lighter complexion. So a white person dating in a non-white country will still have way more options for that reason alone. A broke white vagabond with blonde hair and blue eyes will be a hot commodity in Peru or the Philippines. For real. And the dating app thing is bonkers. Does this clown realize that he is in hot demand in these countries precisely because he comes from a rich country? I have never seen someone so completely oblivious to their obvious relative privilege. Certainly there are valid critiques of the American lifestyle, ridiculous overwork, sedentary driving culture, bad food promotes weight gain, grotesque lack of safety nets, etc. But what OP experienced abroad has nothing to do with all that and everything to do with being relatively rich in those countries. How can a person be so fucking obtuse about privilege so obvious? I remember the time I really understood that difference you talk about. Some years ago I met a US doctor vacationing here in Argentina. Since I'm also a physician we talked about our work and experience in the intern medicine field. Something I would never forget is when I told him I was making $400 a month, $500 annually, and he told me he was on $410,000. We were doing almost the same job but he was making 80 times my salary. The conversation turned kinda awkward because I was shocked to hear how much doctors can make in the first world. I couldn't stop thinking that I have to work 80 years to earn what this guy makes in a year. Hearing about the op whining about apartment renting costs and food costs and then seeing they are going to Europe? All I can say is good luck. Finding a flat in Europe is worse than America, not to mention the food and veggies. And op really can't find fresh food in Chicago? I lost weight when I lived in Chicago simply by walking everywhere and jogging along the lakefront. Maybe they need to change their life habits like we all do when moving to a new place? But I sense reverse culture shock and depression.
As someone who's been around the world with nothing but a backpack and a Wi-Fi signal, I read plenty of travel books, but The Adventures of Mr. Brightside by Ryan Jacobson, now this is the real deal. Imagine living out all your travel dreams, staying in luxury penthouses one day, then stuffing your face with street scorpions the next. That's a wild ride I can respect. Jacobson's got this insane ability to make you feel like you're sitting right next to him, sipping champagne one moment, then scrambling to figure out how to survive in a hostel in the next. The guy's not afraid to get his hands dirty, and he's got the stories to prove it. But don't get me wrong, it's not the outrageous travel antics that make this book shine. It's the way Jacobson finds humor in everything, from getting hit in the face by an elephant, Seriously, who does that? To losing himself in the chaos of international travel. His writing style, hilarious, relatable, and exactly what you need to keep flipping pages while planning your own escape from the 9 to 5. If you've ever wondered whether backpacker life or the baller experience is better, this book's got the answer. Spoiler, it's both, but only if you're cool enough to roll with the punches. So yeah, if you want a mix of real travel insights and laugh out loud moments, pick this up. Trust me, your next layover will thank you. Digital Danny signing off, professional wanderer, Wi-Fi whisperer, and lover of all things ridiculous. Link in the description.